Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting to order at this time for May the 6th, 2019. It's later than we all think, I guess. It's customary for the Board of Commissioners to start their meetings with a prayer by a commissioner. And at this time, I'll ask Commissioner Lou Richardson to lead us in prayer, and then Wayne Outlaw to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, you're welcome to stand and join us in a prayer. You're welcome to use this time for a moment of silence, or you're welcome to use it for your own prayer, whichever you prefer. Ms. Richardson.
Dear Heavenly Father, maker and creator of all things good, we thank you for this day that you have allowed us to see. Thank you for bringing us all together and for the purposes that we are here. We ask you, Lord, to lead us and guide us into all good things for the people of Nash County. Help us to understand that it's not all about us, but it's about you and your people. Help us and lead us in the right direction. Bless our nation and keep us safe. For it's in your name we ask all these things. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson and Mr. Outlaw. We're now on item number 4, which is the approval of our minutes for meetings we've had since we were together here before. We had a budget meeting and work session on the 26th of March over in the barn in Sharpsburg. We came back the next morning and had a meeting on the 27th of March. And then we had our regular April 1st meeting here in this room. And I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted, or any corrections or addition to the minutes.
Move for approval.
I have a mover by Commissioner Outlaw, a second by Mr. Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Minutes stand approved. The next item is item number 5, and this is an item of public comment, and this allows any citizen that wishes to speak before the Board of Commissioners once a month to come up and talk to us about any item you may have on your mind that's not on the agenda. We ask that you identify yourself when you come up and give us your address, and we do ask that you sign up out front, and I'll call on the 2 that signed up first, and if someone happened to miss that part of it, I'll be glad to recognize you after that. If there is a public hearing on the agenda, we would ask that you wait for that public hearing to come up before you speak. At this time, I have the first gentleman that signed up was Cephas Ray. Morning, Mr. Ray. Hadn't seen you in a while. Glad to have you this morning.
I still live in the same place. Welcome anytime. But good morning to you and the rest of the commission as well. I guess you want my address, Cephas Ray, Stony Hill Church Road, 7673, Bailey, North Carolina.
Yes, sir. That's just for the record. Thank you.
All right. I just want to thank you, commissioners, for the nice building y'all put up over there for the seniors. I was going to be here last month, but situation arose that out of my control. But I'm here today to thank you for it, and I think the staff you got there is top notch. Just again, I just want to say thank you.
There's no but to your comment, sir?
Well, we'll save that for later. Everything's cool.
I'm only kidding with you. We greatly appreciate you coming, and thanking the board and particularly the staff for that.
Yeah, there's been many compliments about a lot of people about the
We as a board have heard many, and it took a long time, as you well know.
Oh, yeah.
We're pleased to have it open, and I think it is serving your part of the county very well.
I agree with you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next person that signed up was a Ruby Davis. Ms. Davis, are you here this morning?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, I don't know where I'm gonna put my stick.
That looks like a good place for it, ma'am.
I'm not here to make a complaint, just hoping we can make some better conditions for animal control.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
this point, what is your plans for a new animal shelter, Mr. Davis?
Mr. Davis, what we generally like to do is hear comments from the public, and then I'd like to ask the staff to get back to you rather than me messing up and tell you something incorrect this morning.
Well, I didn't know if that was, public, but not public, but between the animal control and Mr. Hill and, you commissioners.
I'd be glad to say it is on the commissioner's mind. It is in our capital improvement plan, and we will ask the staff to get back to you and give you a timetable on that, if that would be okay.
I hope it will be as soon as possible because we need one.
Yes, ma'am. I couldn't agree with you more, and I live with a lady that thinks exactly like you do, and I hear it very often.
Is Bill Hill still with the health department?
Ma'am, he sure is. He
Okay.
celebrated his 40th year back in January.
Okay. I'm sure some of you have a pet. Listen to me and see if you can help the animals that are trapped. They are made of a steel-like cage open on all sides with nothing for shelter when the weather is raining, sleeting, or whatever. When the animal is trapped with no food or water, they are inside the cage in all weather conditions. The trap is set one day, and the animal control officer goes back the next day to pick up the animal. When I was working in Spring Hope at a strip mall, an employee went out back to take out the trash. There was a dog inside the cage, and it was raining. The person found something to put on top of the cage for some shelter. What I would like for you all to get with Bill Hill and Donald at the shelter and try to find some way to come up to have a top on all the animal cages, including the cats. This would give some shelter to the animals. Think about this. If this was your pet, what would you think? If a person had a pet and had him tied, no food or water, no shelter, he would be charged with animal abuse. I ask you, please, each of you to get together and see if there is a plan that a top could be put on all cages. If also, I would be happy to help out with the cost. Animals have the same needs we do. I realize animal control have their job to be done, but animals need some protection from the weather. I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen an animal trapped in a cage. It's pitiful to know that they are there, trapped, nothing for protection from the weather, no food or water, and they're there sometimes for 24 hours. And I'm sure some of you have pets, and how would you like for your pet to be in that condition? So I urge y'all to get together with whomever you need to. Donald is doing a good job, I think, at the animal shelter. But the animal control officers have their job to do, but still they have those wire-like cages that has no food or water, no shelter, none whatsoever. So just think about it and see what y'all can help animal control do something about it. If there is something that can be done, and I'm sure if y'all go online or whatever, you can find where there are some tops available. And if so, I would be glad to help with the cost. So that's no problem if y'all will just put your heads together with Donald and see what you can do. Because if you were to find an animal in a cage and it's pouring down rain or sleeting or whatever, that animal is trapped in that cage and can't do anything. So I ask y'all to please get it in your heart to let's do something. The next thing I would like to say concerns Sheriff Stone and his staff. He is the most efficient sheriff Nash County has ever had, in my opinion. I read in the graphic that the county has hired a person to work with the jails, the maintenance, and all this. And maybe he will eliminate any broken wire so other inmates won't escape. Nash County, as well as other counties, have increases in drug use, murders, and so forth. So Sheriff Stone needs your 100% cooperation. I think that if y'all would help him, you could make his job a little easier. For instance, the wire that was not fixed there at the jail, and the inmates, 5 of them got out. That was a lot of manpower and a lot of expense to the county. So Sheriff Stone, to me, and I'm prejudiced, I think he is a terrific sheriff. And he probably sometimes works 24 hours a day. And we need him, but we need for you to give him your cooperation. And so this is all I have to say. I thank you for your time, and I hope and pray that you'll find it in your hearts to help the animals, because, you know, they have the same needs we do. And in that cage, they have nothing. So I appreciate you listening to me.
Ma'am, we're glad to have you here this morning.
I'm an animal lover, as you know.
Yes, ma'am, I do know that now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And for the clerk, that's Ruby Davis at 10778 US 64A West Spring Oak, North Carolina. Was there anyone else that wished to speak this morning that did not realize you needed to sign up? Be glad to hear from you this time. Thank you. We're now on item number 6, and I'll call on Tyler to make this presentation at this time. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. See, to all, let's see. To the Commissioners of Nash County, I would like to introduce a proclamation for the American Legion Centennial Days of 2019. See, whereas chartered by the United States Congress in 1919, the American Legion has been a staunch advocate for veterans and their families for 100 years. And whereas the American Legion was founded on 4 pillars: American Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, National Security, Americanism, and Children and Youth. Each of these pillars encompasses a variety of programs that benefit our nation's veterans, service members, and their families, youth, and communities. And whereas the American Legion has played a leading role in initiatives and breakthroughs ranging from the United States Flag Code to the GI Bill, which has affected the lives of Americans in every community across our nation. And whereas the American Legion Department of North Carolina has fulfilled the American Legion's mission since 1919 through programs such as the Veterans Service Fund, the American Legion Baseball, Tar Heel Boys State High School Oratorical Contest, the Student Trooper Program in Boy Scouts, and whereas the American Legion Centennial Days commemorate the organization's commencement on March 15th through 17th, 1919, when members of the American Expeditionary Force convened in Paris for the First American Legion. Whereas the state of North Carolina joins in celebrating the American Legion's 100 years of success as a patriotic organization and commends its many contributions to our communities and youth, as well as our veterans, service members, and their families. And whereas Nash County is home to the Nashville American Legion Post 110, the Coleman Britt Post 58, and the Johnson Gillum Post 293. Now, therefore, the Nash County Board of Commissioners do I hereby proclaim March 15th through 17th, 2019, the American Legion Centennial Days, and commend its observance to all citizens. This day, this 6th day of May, 2019.
All right, thank you, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Did you have some guests with you this morning you'd like to have stand up?
Yes, for the, let's see, representatives of these 3 posts, if you could please come up front, as I'm hoping that you are here. Whether it be Post 110, Post 58, and Post 293. Is there anyone present? There we go, okay. I was hoping you'd be one of them, Mr.
While y'all are coming up, is there any comments from other commissioners at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Outlaw?
I know many, if not all, of these men, and there are also, we have ladies in the American Legion. But these men and women are patriots. Your service to our country is valued, and your contributions to our country are valued as well. I thank you for what you do and continue to do for Nash County.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, actually call for a vote to approve the resolution and then have you present it to them, if that's okay.
No problem, no problem.
Entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Chairman, move second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bellfield, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion gladly carries. Tyler, back to you, sir.
All right. Just over here, please. Okay. Let's try to make this easy. Thank you. Commitment to the American Legion and to the American people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please come up here, sir. So you wanted to give you this commencement to your commitment to the American Legion and to the American people.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your service. All right, sir, how you doing? So I'm going to give you this as commencement to your commitment to the American Legion and to the American people. Thank you for your service. Sir. Anything else for me?
No, sir.
All right, thank you for your time.
Ms. Richardson?
Could we stand and give them a round of applause? for their
Amen.
service?
Please, is it, all
Okay.
right if we have a,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to personally thank you and all the commissioners for posting In God We Trust. I came to you last year or so and asked about that, and I'm so pleased. I want to thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Give a round of applause. That was a great presentation. We'll now move on to item number 7, which is a 2020 census. And I'll call on Adam to talk to us about this at this time, and any guest he may have with him, maybe a Kenneth Wilkins.
Good morning, Commissioners. You might recall that back at your February 4th regular meeting, you had a presentation from the U.S. Census Bureau scheduled. Due to a personnel change, a representative from the Census Bureau was not able to make that meeting. However, I gave you a brief presentation on the importance of the upcoming 2020 census and on our plans to form a Nash County Complete Count Committee to increase awareness and participation in the upcoming census. On that date, you adopted a resolution in support of both the 2020 U.S. Decennial Census and the formation of the Nash County Complete Count Committee. That effort has been somewhat on hold until we were given a partner with the Census Bureau to work alongside us in forming that committee. And I am happy to announce today that we have been assigned that partner. Mr. Kenneth Wilkins is present this morning to give a brief presentation on the census and its importance. And so I'll turn it over to him.
Good. Welcome, Mr. Wilkins.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Adam. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for passing that resolution. I'm happy to be with you today. I also want to thank County Manager Mr. Lamb for appointing Adam as our liaison, and thank Adam Tyson and Brad Parker for their assistance. We've had many exchanges by phone and email since my conversation with your County Manager, Mr. Lamb. So again, thank you for supporting that resolution. I'm Kenneth Wilkins. I'm a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm from the Atlanta region. That region is made up of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. I'm based in Raleigh, so I didn't have to come too far this morning, but pleased to be with you. Every 10 years since 1790, the U.S. Census Bureau has conducted a constitutionally mandated census to determine the number of people living within the United States and our territories. Once again, let me just say this about the census. The one thing I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else I say, is that the census is about two things, power and money. I know you understand the power part, and I know you also understand the money part, and I'll talk about those very briefly. About the power, As you know, the information from the census is used to determine the number of congressional seats in the United States Congress. As you also know, there are only 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. They aren't making any more, so that's a solid number. In North Carolina, we have 13 congressional seats, and given the increase in the population in North Carolina, there's a good chance that we will add another congressional seat. However, we have to have a really good effort to increase the response rate to the 2020 census in order for that to happen. Those numbers are used to draw the lines for congressional, state, county, and local districts. In 2000, the response rate to the U.S. Census in Nash County was 69%. In 2010, it was 77%. Going in the right direction, but we need to improve on that number. The governor would like to see us all at least 82%, and so we all have a job to do. In 2010, South Carolina and Georgia gained 1 seat, and Florida gained 2, based on their response to the census. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a competition. South Carolina in 2010 placed $1 million in their budget toward their census efforts, and as I mentioned, that paid off for them because they increased their congressional seats by 1. In 2010, an estimated 5% of the children in the United States were not counted. That's nearly 1 million children that were not counted in the census. They're among the hard-to-count populations. The others are renters, non-English speakers, people who live in rural areas, those experiencing homelessness, and our low-income citizens. A concerted effort toward these populations is an integral part of any efforts toward the census. The goal of the census is to count everyone only once and in the right place. Let me repeat that. The goal of the census is to count everyone only once and in the right place. Now let's talk about the money part. A total of $675 billion will be returned to the states each year for the next 10 years. That is approximately $1,623 per person returned to North Carolina to help enhance or offset the cost of a number of programs that assist members of your community. Responding to the census also helps communities receive the funding they need and helps businesses make data-driven decisions that will grow your economy. The information gathered from the census is kept confidential for 72 years. It cannot be shared with any other agency or entity. It can only be used to produce statistics. By law, your responses to the census cannot be used against you by any governmental agency or in a court in any way. There are severe consequences if it is. In about mid-March of 2020, each household will receive a postcard in the mail. It will be sent to the address and not the individual at that residence. It will have a barcode on it. That barcode will be used to respond to the census. There will be new ways to respond to the 2020 census. For the first time, folks can respond online, either by computer, tablet, they can use their phone. If people aren't comfortable with that technology, they can respond again by phone or they can use the mail. If we do not hear from folks after a certain period of time, there will be 3 separate visits to that residence. And if we don't hear from anyone after the 3rd visit, the person who goes to that household will go to the neighbor next door and try to determine how many people live at that residence. If there's no response, that address will be closed out and will not be counted in the census. What we are asking every entity, in this case Nash County, to do is to form a complete count committee, and Adam spoke about that a minute ago, or committees in your area. There can be more than one. There can be a business complete count committee. There can be one in the faith community, one in the civic community, and certainly we want the county to start and form theirs first because we know that you touch everyone in the community. These committees are made up of what we call the trusted voices. These are the folks, you know them, they walk into a room and people gravitate toward them. I like to call them the Pied Pipers in the community, the folks that people trust. Those committees should be as broad as possible in terms of the makeup of your community. Their role is to develop and implement an outreach plan tailored to the unique characteristics of your community. Their charge is also to encourage and motivate your citizens to complete their census questionnaire. Now, we want you to develop the committee because you know your community better than we do. We'll provide the training for your complete count committee or any other complete count committees that are formed in your community. But the plan in terms of how to get the word out to the folks in your community, that will be up to the committee to determine. But again, we're there to be supportive, to do the training, and whatever they need, we'll be there to help that out. The last thing I want to say is that the Census Bureau is hiring. We're going to hire about 6,000 people, or just under 6,000 people in North Carolina. Adam already has the information electronically. He's already told me he shared it with some individuals already. But please know there are a lot of jobs available, and they are not all jobs where people are knocking on doors. So we need your support to help us find folks who are looking for work. And the website, Adam has that. The website is open now for folks to apply. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions you might have. Thank you.
Wilkins, we appreciate you being here. I came in with 7 questions, but your presentation was very thorough, and I think you thoroughly answered each one of the 7 I had. Maybe on the employees.
Yes, sir.
What exactly will they be doing? You said numerous jobs.
There are a number of, some of them are clerical, some of them are administrative, and then, of course, the last phase would be those folks who are actually knocking on the doors for those who don't respond. So there are a number of different opportunities. Most of those folks will be working from home, so they will be able to be at home and work. Of course, they'll be accountable at home, but people can work from home for some of these positions.
Thank you. Other commissioners have questions at this time?
Just a comment, there are some myths out there, especially among maybe low-income people, that this is, they're gathering information that maybe, that may get me in trouble. I may owe a bill somewhere, and that's one of the things that I think these field workers maybe can help them to understand if they don't respond to in the mail because of a lot of things that they think on their own mind and someone told them. So that committee with field workers is very important in them getting out there. They need the training so they know how to handle it when they knock on those doors, and
Yes, sir.
let them know that they're not a law enforcement person,
Yes, sir.
that they're just there to take the census and the reason for it, and how they could possibly benefit from it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, sir. Let me just make 2 brief comments. You're absolutely right, sir. One of the reasons that we want the Complete Count Committee to be composed of many segments of the community, those trusted voices once again, is because they need to develop that plan to help those folks who are a little skittish or apprehensive about responding to the census, to help them understand, first of all, that it's important that they respond, but also because a lot of the money that comes back to this community will help the folks who are impacted by the programs that they need. And so it's incumbent upon every committee to try to be as broad as possible to get those folks who can help people feel comfortable and encourage them to fill out their census questionnaire. Thank you.
Other comments or questions from the board? Well, on behalf of the commissioners, we greatly appreciate you coming to Nash County this morning, even though it was a short drive for you. You probably got some pretty long drives on this list you just gave, but we realize how important it is, and Mr. Tyson, I'm sure, would do a great job leading that, as you've probably learned enough about it to know how he operates.
He's already doing a great job, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, ladies and
Thank you,
gentlemen.
sir.
I'll close that item by just reminding the board that the next phase of this is to identify those trusted voices that Mr. Wilkins was talking about in our community, specifically in the areas of government, education, business, healthcare, community-based organizations, faith-based groups, and the media. I'm going to be working with the manager's office to generate a list of candidates for people we can invite to serve on the Complete Count Committee for our census efforts. And if you as commissioners have any suggestions, you can get those to me or to the manager's office, and we'll be glad to incorporate them in our invitation list. And we will go from there.
All right. Thank you, sir. Now, we'll move to item number 8, which is a quasi-judicial public hearing for a conditional use rezoning request to rezone approximately 180 acres from R40 single-family residential to R20 CU medium-density residential. And it is a conditional use rezoning, and Mr. Tyson, gonna put you right back up, sir.
All right. The subject property in this request is shown in this aerial photo outlined in red. It consists of 5 separate tracts of land that total up to approximately 188 acres, owned by L&F Farms LLC, located on both the north and south sides of Stony Hill Church Road, around its intersection with Chapman Road, and between Whitley Road to the west and West Horns Church Road to the east. The site is located northeast of the town of Bailey in the area known as the Green Pond community. I'll reference a zoning map, which is in a slightly different format than what you're used to seeing. If we were to lay the zoning overlay on top of this map, it would be a solid color green. And that's because of the large area of R40 in the southern portion of the county that this is located in. Everywhere you see this darker green color, of course, the subject site is denoted by that X right there. And so it's in a large R40 residential zoning district. And in that R40 district, the current minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet, which is about 9/10 of an acre. The subject property is currently undeveloped and primarily used for agricultural production, with the exception of a few scattered existing residential dwellings located along Stony Hill Church Road. The subject property has access to Nash County Public Water Service, including an existing 4-inch line along the Whitley Road public right-of-way, constructed in 2005, or around 2005. That would be along this right-of-way to the left side of the map. And also an existing 4-inch line along the Stony Hill Church Road public right-of-way, constructed around 2011, so along this stretch here. There is no public sewer service currently available, so any additional residential development in the near future will continue to utilize private on-site wastewater septic disposal systems. The applicants for this request, Mr. Frederick J. Schroeder and Lane F. Schroeder, representing the property owner L&F Farms, have submitted conditional use rezoning request CU 190401 to rezone the subject property from R40 single-family residential to R20 CU medium-density residential conditional use in order to reduce the required minimum lot size by half from the currently required 40,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. The proposed zoning conditions would prohibit the development of boarding and rooming houses, congregate care facilities, manufactured homes, manufactured home parks, and/or two-family dwellings, making it slightly more restrictive in terms of permitted land uses than the current R40 zoning district, which permits a Class A double-wide manufactured home. You have in your packet an excerpt from our table of permitted uses that includes all the permitted uses in the proposed, in the current zoning district down the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, it shows the standard uses for the R40, which is what the property is currently zoned, and then the standard uses for the R20. And so this would be true under the rezoning, except for those exceptions that I just noted. Boarding and rooming houses, congregate care facilities, manufactured homes, manufactured home parks, and two-family dwellings or duplexes would be prohibited. Also, there's an additional condition that would require residential lots that were subdivided from the subject property to be served by the Nash County Public Water System. There was a note in your written report that you have in front of you today concerning some concerns expressed by Nash County Public Utilities about the public water system's capacity to serve a large residential development that could result from approval of this request. However, Public Utilities received some information late Friday that the Wooten Company, as our consulting engineer, provided modeling data indicating that the existing public water system should actually have sufficient capacity to accommodate the potential development. And that would be under the current R40 zoning or in the proposed R20. And Mr. Boone is present here today and available to give some testimony during the public hearing if necessary. Before we go any further, however, I wanted to address a procedural objection that has become, that I've become aware of this morning. This is a conditional use rezoning request. The reason why is that the land development plan recommends that if public water is available in an area, such as here, then you can rezone to R20 or R30. But it also, hand in hand with that recommendation, states that you should control for manufactured homes. So essentially, it says you can go to R20 or R30 if you eliminate the possibility of manufactured homes. For all other residential zoning districts in the ordinance, R40, R30, R15, there is a parallel RA district. The difference between these two districts is that in an R40 district, you can do manufactured homes. In an RA district, you cannot. If they were rezoning to anything other than R20, this would be a general rezoning request to an RA district. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was an oversight or an intentional choice that I don't understand, our ordinance does not include a parallel RA20 zoning district. Therefore, this request, the applicant didn't have an opportunity to meet the requirements of the land development plan and be a general rezoning. So he did his best with what the ordinance requirements have. In order to eliminate manufactured homes, he chose to proceed with a conditional use rezoning request that would have a condition that would eliminate manufactured homes. The issue with that is that in Article 8 of the Unified Development Ordinance, Section 8.7, it states that every petition for the reclassification of property to a conditional use district shall be accompanied by a site plan containing the requisite information specified in Appendix 1. Well, this is a prospective rezoning. The property won't be subdivided, and you would not commit to a design to subdivide the property unless you knew what the zoning is going to be. So in this case, although we've done this before, since this objection has been raised, I would be concerned about the vulnerability of a decision to approve a conditional use rezoning because it does not meet the requirement of having a site plan. In order to address this, the Technical Review Committee has already recommended approval of a text amendment that would adopt an RA20 zoning district. That will go to the Planning Board in the middle of this month and can be before you at your June Commissioners meeting. But I think it might be appropriate in light of this vulnerability in the type of conditional use proceedings that before we entertain the public hearing, we might want to make sure the applicant understands the situation and find out if there might be some interest in withdrawing the request and bringing it back as a general rezoning. I will say I have not had the opportunity to speak with the applicant about this, so he is hearing about it right now. This is something that happened immediately prior to the meeting this morning. So that would be my request, is that perhaps we speak with the county attorney and decide whether it be appropriate to proceed. The board could determine that the site plan, that the aerial photo is a site plan, but my concern is that it does not meet all the requirements of Appendix 1 as specified in the ordinance.
Well, I would recommend you consult with the applicant. If he wants to postpone it or withdraw it, he has that opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Just a question first, Adam. You have other things that would require it to be a conditional use other than this one item. Does that give you any pause on the direction you're headed?
Can you elaborate on what you're thinking there?
Well, I think you're saying this would not be a conditional use if we had an RA20 zoning.
Correct.
But you have other things that they have taken out, other than just a mobile home.
That's correct.
So would it not be a conditional use anyway?
The reason the applicant has taken other things out is because they are things that are permitted in the standard R20, but aren't permitted in the current R40. And so it simplifies his argument if he's able to remove those. When we adopt an RA20 zone, we could leave out the things that are typically excluded in a request like this I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure that it overcomes the obstacle of not having a site plan.
I don't think it would, but it would, to me, change the fact that it's a conditional use. It would not change the fact that it's a conditional use. If I'm understanding you now, these things get very complicated.
Right.
And to come up with this morning makes it even more complicated.
Certainly.
I think I will just pause right there and let you address the attorney's directions in finding out if the applicant has any interest in tabling this or withdraw it and change it. It would be a withdraw and change it if indeed you did that
I believe
after your
so.
text amendment. Seems to be the potential safest way to move forward or not.
If you'd like to move to your next item while I consult with the applicant, and then we could come back, or we could just pause and I can consult with the applicant, however you'd like to proceed.
Adam, you do need to point out that the commissioners may not approve this RA text amendment.
That's true. We could. I did not want us to go through the entire public hearing process knowing that we had a potential question at the beginning. That's why I raise it now.
Did this question come up from intelligence the staff did internal, or did it come from outside?
Well, we would always have preferred to do it this way, but we never wanted to ask an applicant to put his request on hold while we amended the ordinance. And so we followed into a pattern of doing these. But it's my understanding that the opposition of this request is going to raise this very issue today during the public hearing. And so instead of going through this long report in the public hearing, I thought it might be good that we address this question right now.
So apparently the potential question is coming from the outside, not internal.
Right. We recognized that we had already started the process before this morning
I got you.
of adopting a new zoning district so that we aren't forced to go through this process when it's not an exact fit. But the fact that the opposition plans to address it today in the public hearing brought some urgency to it.
Well, the fact that I sit here this morning between two attorneys, I'm going to yield back to the attorney.
Okay.
And let you take that step. Does the board wish to take a short break at this time, or do you? I didn't finish the question, so I guess the answer is yes. We'll take about a 10-minute pause. Call us back in session at this time. Mr. Tyson, turn it back over to you, sir.
Okay, during the break, I consulted with Mr. Cecil Williams, who is acting on behalf of the applicant, the Schroeders. Mr. Williams is the prospective developer of the property. And in light of what we discussed prior to the break, Mr. Williams, on behalf of the property owners, has agreed to withdraw the application from consideration today. That will give them, the applicants, the opportunity to decide if they'd like to come back with a general rezoning once the ordinance has been amended to accommodate that, or they could prepare a site plan that meets the requirements of the ordinance and proceed again in the future with this conditional use. And so they are withdrawing this from consideration from today's agenda. Anyone who received a letter advising them of today's meeting would receive another letter as an adjacent or surrounding property owner in the future, should this item come back. It is not postponed to a specific date, and so people are free to contact the planning office or to watch their mailboxes if they were on the mailing list for the original one for any future action.
Mr. Tyson, I understand this to be a withdrawal, not a table on behalf of this board. Am I
Correct. The board has not taken any action other than to acknowledge the applicant's request to withdraw the application from consideration at today's meeting.
And how does this leave Nash County as it relates to the planning board and the action they've formally taken already?
If the request is changed by either the addition of a site plan or being converted to a general rezoning, it would need to filter back through the planning board for reconsideration before it came back to this
So it would
board.
be another hearing before the planning board.
Right.
Okay, all right. Any questions from commissioners on this action? Just on behalf of the board, I apologize. I feel like there's quite a few of you here this morning that wish to engage in this particular item on our agenda. I apologize for your efforts in getting here this morning and it being withdrawn due to some new information, but please understand we'll keep you informed and probably we'll see you again pretty soon, I'm not sure. But thank you for being here this morning, and if there's anyone here that wishes to leave, I'll pause just a moment to allow you to leave during this time. And you're welcome to stay. We always like to have our citizens at our meetings. At this time, I'll move on to item number 9, which is a proclamation for Hurricane Preparedness Week, which starts today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And actually started yesterday. I was trying to get the dates right.
Yes, sir.
Brown, welcome this morning.
Well, first off, let me thank this board and all the many boards that I've worked with in the past. Unfortunately, we've had numerous disaster declarations due to hurricanes in Nash County, and worked with, I remember Mr. Belfield signed a state of emergency, Mr. Davis signed the states of emergency, Mr. Mayo, going back to Mr. Seiler, I think, signed the state of emergency for one, and then we received disaster declarations. And I think we are second to none in our response in Nash County to hurricanes. But we've also proven that the preparedness efforts have made our citizens more prepared for this tragedy when they do hit. And so what we wanted the commissioners to do was maybe help make the citizens aware of things they can do to be prepared for hurricane season that begins June the 1st. And so we had prepared this proclamation. It addresses the flooding, and we've seen here in Hurricane Floyd, we lost 6 lives. They were all related to driving through swift water on the roadways. As mentioned in the proclamation, to please do not do that. Have your emergency plans prepared. Have your families prepared for hurricanes. The standard is be prepared to look after yourself and your family for 72 hours before the government can get to you and help you in some cases, unless it's the extreme emergency. So we do ask that you be prepared. One of the best things that you can do is go on the readynorthcarolina.org, which is in the proclamation. There are so many resources available on that website. We do recommend that in the proclamation. Of course, Nash County is second to none, working together with all the different agencies, whether it's state, federal, or our local agencies, working hand to hand with all of our different local agencies, social services, health, sheriff. I can go on and on and on mentioning those. Animal control, as y'all were talked to about prior, we work closely with animal control to look after our animals during hurricane preparedness and during those responses. So we do ask that the board adopt this proclamation May 5th through May the 11th, be declared as Hurricane Preparedness Week, and again in preparedness for hurricane season that starts June the 1st. I'd be glad to entertain any questions. I do thank you again. I thank the county managers that I've worked with over the years. I know Mr. Lamb left a ball game, came down our emergency operations center, I don't know, what time was that, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, to be with us as we were working one of the hurricanes, and we do appreciate that. It means a lot to all of our departments that are out there working. Our county managers and all our county commissioners have been very supportive. It is very good to hear a chairman, as Mr. Belfield, Mr. Davis told me, do what you got to do, make sure the citizens are looked after. And that makes my job so much better when we have that support from the board and the county manager's office. So we do ask that you approve this proclamation.
Any questions of Mr. Brantley this time? Comment?
No, I'm just going to make a comment. This was one thing I had planned to bring up since I've been reading information and talking about these major hurricanes that we can expect this year. And it's a tremendous increase from last year.
Yes, sir.
And they said they may be even more damaging than in the past.
And as
I
y'all,
had planned to bring it up, and then I saw it on the agenda. I said, oh, I don't need to do it. It's coming. They got it on the agenda, and That's the
And
right
I
thing
will-
to do. And now it's the time to start
Yes, sir.
preparing.
And I'll give credit to our citizens, and I guess when you've been hit as many times as we have, the citizens, the news media, everybody works together, and that makes a huge difference when the storm does hit. We were so blessed last year because we were anticipating huge amounts of damage last year, and we missed those. And so, again, always be prepared, and that's why we're asking that the citizens go ahead in the weeks prior to hurricane season to start getting prepared for it.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to comment briefly. These seem to occur just about every year. And I just want to clear up one thing. There's a misconception that we get reimbursed for all hurricane-related expenses from the federal government and the state government. And that's why, in order to get reimbursed, you have to have the chairman declare an emergency at the local level, which we always do and was done during Florence. But I'd like to thank EMS, law enforcement, 911, health department, DSS. They all came through during Florence. Unfortunately, we did not qualify for assistance this time with Florence. So the taxpayers of Nash County incurred.
Is that unfortunately or is that fortunately?
Well, it's fortunate that we weren't terribly
Absolutely.
damaged, but where that line is, I think we were pretty close to it, and we did not qualify, and the taxpayers, I think we're $159,000 is what it ended up being that we had to spend and were not reimbursed. So I think a lot of people think that the feds and the state government reimburses us when we incur those costs, but we have to be declared by the federal authorities also. Isn't that how it
And
works?
that's based on the amount of damage
On-
that's been assessed.
Public damage, right.
Which is another reason why we need to keep a healthy fund balance.
Exactly.
Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? We approve the resolution, and thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brown, for
you.
being
Thank
here
you
this
again
morning.
for what you do.
Everybody's mighty nice this morning. Must be budget time. Next item is item number 10. Excuse me. Yes, number 10. Approval of an audit contract, which I remember in my first year was about a page long. Now it is extremely lengthy, the audit contract itself. Ms. Wood,
Okay, good morning.
good morning.
The Local Government Commission requires the governing board to approve the audit contract annually. The audit contract is with Thompson Price Scott Adams and Company, PA. They're out of Whiteville. The cost of the audit and preparation of the annual financial statements for fiscal year 18-19 contract is set at $43,000. This audit contract is a standard local government audit contract and is attached. There are no changes in the scope of work from prior year or changes in the language in the contract affecting Nash County. However, the state auditor is requiring a separate agreed-upon procedure as in prior year for Medicaid and possibly other programs that are outside the scope of the standard audit, and Nash County will receive a separate engagement letter for those procedures, and an additional fee will be charged for that required engagement.
Donna, how does this compare with what we pay in the current year, if you have it available?
It's the same contract amount.
Okay.
The audit is actually $39,500, and preparation of financial statements are $3,500.
Right, okay, all right. Any other questions on this?
Did we have any costs last year outside the scope of the standard audit?
We did, I think it was $1,200
Okay,
for the
so it was
additional
very minimal.
procedures.
Okay.
Other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Leggett, I think, is that correct? And seconded by Mr. Bellfield.
Okay.
Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign, the motion carries. As we approach the end of the year, we have project ordinances, and we have quite a few this morning, so you can continue, Donna, with that list.
Okay, I'm gonna, if you want to approve each one separately,
I think,
just let me know how you want to do that.
well, I think we probably should approve each one of them separately since they're individual project ordinances.
Okay.
Sir?
I agree.
Okay.
The first item
You
is
told
with
me that
the,
last year.
is with the Ag Center renovation capital project ordinance. This is an amendment for that project. This amendment makes funding available for repairs to certain areas of the Ag Center parking lot caused by stormwater runoff and erosion with an estimated cost of approximately $18,000. The amendment also increases the LED funding available by $2,000 to allow for changes in the lighting and for adding additional switches. These amendments total $20,000 with funding from contingency, leaving $30,000 in the contingency line item budget. The total budget remains at $550,725.
Is any questions on that item?
Didn't we make changes on the lighting at the Ag Center about 2 years ago?
Actually, Mr. Bellfield, we did, it was longer than 2 years ago, but we did go to a different type of bulb in our fluorescent lights down there at that time. But we determined while we were doing major renovation, it was the best time to go ahead and go to the new technology, which is LED lighting. And the return on that investment is so quick because of your energy savings that I asked the same question. The reason I know the answer this morning is why we are doing it so much so soon after we had already made some improvements, but they were still fluorescent lights, which are a lot more energy users than what we're putting in there this time. We had everything out, and it was just the right time to put LED lighting in the whole facility. Donna, if you would, well, I would take action on this first. I'd call for a motion to approve this particular capital ordinance.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wells. Is any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? And Donna, if we could pause right there, I've asked Jonathan to give the board a very brief update on where we were with Ag Center, because I know we all get asked frequently, and I hope he had time to prepare from 6:30 this morning when I asked him to do that. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Davis, Commissioners. Work at the Ag Center is well underway. Stopped by this morning. The painters on site removing wallpaper. That was a major element of work. Lighting fixtures, approximately about a third of the work was done over the weekend. So if you have a chance to stop by. But two major elements of the project are underway. Understand the air handling units, which is the largest overall portion of the project, are supposed to be shipped this week. So we anticipate that all red construction will start on replacing those air handlers as early as next week. So we're on pace to finish the project by early July. But we have several major elements that are underway. It promises to be a really busy month at the Ag Center this month.
Any questions from anybody? Thank you, sir. I apologize for the short notice.
No problem.
Ms. Wood?
Okay, the next capital project is the C&D landfill expansion. The solid waste C&D landfill expansion project was completed in September 2018. This ordinance is for a final amendment to budget remaining funds to be transferred back to the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund. The total project cost was $583,138. The funds to be transferred back to solid waste from the original appropriation is $84,862.
All right, any questions on this particular project ordinance? In effect, Mr. Hill did it again. He came in $84,000 under the budget that we had for it. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield, second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. 13.
Okay, this is for the Nash Rocky Mounts Early College Capital Project, which was completed in January 2019. The total project cost was $751,102.40. Edgecombe County reimbursed $82,621.27 of the project, which was 11%. This ordinance is for a final amendment to the project and to budget the remaining funds of $81,518.87 to be transferred for other school projects.
Any questions on this one?
What does that mean to other school projects? Does that mean we're going to transfer it within our purview, or what exactly does that mean?
That leaves, we have a separate capital project fund.
Or we've still got control of those dollars?
We still have control of that money. It could just be used for another school project.
Gotcha.
And it just gives us the ability to transfer it out of the early college.
Okay, thanks.
What made us do that rather than putting it back in fund balance where it came from?
We can
What's
put
the
it
thought
back in
there?
fund balance. I didn't know if they were, I was just leaving it in the school project area. But the board has the ability, I can amend this capital project to transfer it back to the general fund instead of leaving it in school project capital funds.
Is that considered in fund balance, or when you put it there, it's not in fund balance?
It is not in the general fund balance. It's a separate project.
Right.
So if we transfer it back to the general fund, we have the ability to move it or to use it for any other item other than school projects.
Do we occasionally get called upon during the year for capital money for the schools not budgeted? Is there any money in that account you're moving it to now?
No, it's just, it would be, it would remain in the capital project. For school projects, could be assigned to another, it could be assigned to the Northern Nash Elementary School if the board chooses to do that in the school projects, or we could budget it back to the general fund.
Just one speaking, I think I would rather have it in the general fund and come back to us, but we'll let the other ones see if they got any questions on it. Any other commissioner got a question? Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, it's in a fund balance, but it's a designated fund balance. It's not the general fund balance. My question is, from this fund balance, can we use it for as part of the $936,000 that we're not getting in lottery money for the Rocky Mount High School? Do you need to move it to the general fund balance to use it for that purpose, or can you take it directly out of this fund balance?
I would prefer to move it back to the general fund,
Okay.
since that's where that money's, the debt service is budgeted from.
Other thoughts on where to put it from a commissioner?
I'm good with that.
What do you prefer, Mr. Lamb? General fund balance?
General fund balance.
Okay, all right. What do you need to say to make that what we vote on?
I will just make if the board approves to change the transfer to other projects, to transfer to the general fund, then I can make that adjustment and it can be finalized in the minutes.
Okay. All right.
To be approved.
Let's do that then.
I agree.
Entertain a motion for approval on that then, with the change.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Item 14.
Okay. Item 14 is for the Middlesex Corporate Park. These are older projects that were completed in 2018. It's amending to reflect final project budgets for the roadway project, the park water project, and the park improvements project. They were completed in 2018, and these are not part of the newer projects that we have in place. the water loop and the tank project and the other roadway project that we have. The remaining funds in these budgets are to be transferred to other Middlesex Corporate Center projects requiring county match. So those project ordinances have already been put in place, and what this budget amendment does is actually budgets from those old projects where we have already established that the money has been used.
In effect, we had never closed this project ordinance out.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And this is just cleaning up.
Sure.
This is a cleanup budget ordinance.
Gotcha. I understand. Questions on this one? Entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Item carries. Item number 15.
Okay. Item number 15 is a capital project ordinance for the Middlesex Corporate Center Shell Building. I'm going to refer to it as Shell Building Number 1 at Middlesex. And it was completed April 2019. This ordinance is for final amendments to the project, including budgeting remaining funds from economic development and financing proceeds to be used for the Shell Building debt service. The total cost of the Shell Building was $1,525,607. The funds to be used for debt service are $674,563, with $500,000 coming from economic development fund balance appropriation, and the $174,563 are remaining financing proceeds available.
I've just had a problem grasping this one, what you're doing. Could you maybe talk in layman's terms, or maybe Mr. Lamb could help? But we started out with a $1.7 million project. We're closing a $2.2 million. I don't quite understand what you're doing with the debt service part of it.
The
Are
origin-
we using some bank loans to do debt service?
We are. So we originally started the project with a $500,000 appropriation from economic development.
We did.
And when we received the financing of $1,700,000, we amended that budget to only reflect the financing proceeds of $1,700,000.
Okay.
So with the final amendment, I want to show the full amount of the funds that were appropriated this project and use those funds for debt service if the board approves. And we did have additional financing proceeds that we didn't use in the project of $174,563.
And you're using that also for debt service?
Yes. We're required to use that for debt service.
Why did we borrow more money than what we needed to do the project with?
The interest rate was so favorable. But,
Or was it a negative number?
no. But the 500 that y'all appropriated 1 June, at the end of the year, just seed money, is really necessary, needed in the first 2 payments of that payback. But that's this June?
We have, the first payment is June 1st.
Yeah, it's June 1st, and then it will also help us with our budget next year to be able to access that money and reduce our fund balance appropriated.
Okay, so basically what we decided to do was borrow the total amount, even though we had made appropriation for that project out of fund balance.
Right, and we did the same thing with the courthouse. We set aside over a period of years.
Okay, just when you look at it on paper,
Yeah.
I just couldn't quite follow, but I've got it now. Any other questions from commissioners on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Has our ability to borrow money now been passed by what we can make on our money? The cheap money we had is pretty darn close, I would think, isn't it?
Arbitrage? Is that what it?
I'm not sure, are you,
I'm saying, I know we borrowed money at very cheap interest rates.
right?
And now we are making more money on our money we have in the bank.
Not yet.
They
Not
haven't
yet,
quite
not quite.
crossed yet.
Right.
Okay, but it gotta be getting awful close.
We are.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I
Well,
have a question about the Middlesex Park. I happened to be in the area, I guess maybe been about 3 weeks ago, and I decided I want to stop in and just take a look and see what progress. And you couldn't get in. From each road, the fences were locked. You couldn't get in, so,
Let's get to item 17, then I'll let Mr. Boone address that, if that's okay. We got it on item 17, is that okay?
Okay.
That finished up item 15, item 16, Northern Nash Water System Project order.
Okay, this project amendment is submitted to budget for the water line purchase agreement between Nash County and the City of Rocky Mount for $107,500, as well as to amend the expenditure line items to reflect the current project outline. The total project budget remains at $9,720,900.
Any questions on this item? What you're basically doing is getting the money in place to pay for the line that we're buying from Rocky Mount.
That's correct.
Okay. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Item 17, Miracle Park at Cooper's Project Ordinance.
Okay. The project ordinance, this is to amend the Miracle Park at Cooper's project, and the project expenditure line items are being amended to reflect the current project outlined, but the project still remains at $2,460,000. And what this is doing is just changing, for example, property acquisition was actually $209,835, adjusting that amount down to the contingency, just cleaning up the line items to reflect where the expenditures should be budgeted.
You just like to do this near the end of the year.
I do. I'd like a nice cleanup.
Gotcha. Okay, any questions on this item as it relates to the project ordinance? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaws, is second. Second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor of that, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Mr. Belfield, or your question on the park?
Oh, I was wondering about, is anyone attendance or anyone down there doing the day?
I'm on
I
that.
stopped by there trying, gonna go just review what progress has been made and everything closed up. And this was about, I guess it may have been about 11 o'clock when I stopped in there.
Mr. Boone, you want to address that question? I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but
Thank you, Chairman Davis. Mr. Belford, are you asking about Miracle Park, or are you asking about Middlesex Corporate Center?
hold on.
I'm talking about
Just 1 second. I think I'm
economic,
confused.
Middlesex Park.
My bad. I don't know why I thought he was talking about the park. You're talking about the park down there.
Yeah, Middlesex.
Okay. You want to address that one? I can address that, but you go ahead.
Well, I would simply say, I think that the concern was securing the site. Certainly, the county has made a significant investment in building the shell building, but it's so remote into the site that I'm concerned about that being unattended during the day. If there is an interest in seeing the building, we do have a padlock on the gate with a combination. We can share that with you if you would like. But I think that the concern was site security. So it is, the gate is locked on both ends of the park. Now, if there's a desire to remove that lock, we can certainly do so.
It's not necessary. I was in the area and I just thought that,
Like I said, we can
drop
give you
in
the
to
combination
see-
if you're heading
to
back that
see-
way.
To see what progress has been made, that was all.
Okay.
It's not an issue at all, so.
Won't you just
You don't
email
need to
the
give 'em-
commissioners that code? I have it in my phone, but if you'd email the rest of the commissioners, then they'd have it if they need it sometime.
Be glad to do it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? When,
Another one? Yes, sir.
just one more.
No, I don't mean that. Go ahead, sir.
When does construction plan to start on water line, water tank?
We had a
Where are we?
project meeting,
Thursday week.
2 Fridays ago, Thursday?
Was it
Thursday or
Friday?
Friday week. But the project is scheduled to bid this fall. So we're working on the construction plans now. As you know, that includes some water improvements, wastewater, and then the tank and the roadway. So we're currently kind of in the design phase. But again, the project should be bid this fall, so I would see construction starting after the first of the year, once the weather will allow.
Just needed an update. Thank you.
Just ask Mr. Boone, there's no need to email that to me. If I need to go out there, I'll be in touch with you.
All right,
I'd rather not have that code.
okay, no problem.
And I don't need it either. I'll just contact you if I need to go out there. I'll just contact you.
Sounds good.
Maybe I should ask, does anybody want that code emailed to them so they'll
I'll
have
try to get in.
No.
If not, I think we're good, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You keep me informed.
I don't want to have that code liability.
All right, that was item number two. Where am I at?
That was
Number
item number 17.
17. And now we're on 18.
I believe this is my last project amendment for today. Oop, I just moved it. So this is the Public Safety Radio Project. The Public Safety Radio Project was completed April 2019. This amendment is presented to budget both the revenue from the MOU repayment agreements with the fire department and the excess funding over project costs from debt proceeds to be used for debt service on the Public Safety Radio Project. The total project costs $494,000. I'm sorry, the total funding from the fire departments totaled $494,957. That's what we have available to use for debt service. The budget, this amendment also reflects the final cost, including use of contingency funds of $9,200 for tower improvements related to takedown and reinstallment of an existing STL dish and antenna. And, let's see, I did not put the total of the project, I apologize. But we also have 300, let me start over, or let me just get myself together. We have $494,957 from debt proceeds of the $3,200,000 that we received to use for debt, for additional debt service. Then we also have, prior to the project and the financing, the county commissioners approved $3,200,000 from general fund appropriation. This project amendment also is a request to transfer that $3,200,000 back to the general fund, in addition to transferring the $494,957 to use for debt service on the project.
Okay. Any questions on that particular one?
Does everyone seem to be pretty satisfied with the radio project? Are there any issues that we're not aware of, or
I'm
maybe?
gonna actually take action on this, and then I was gonna call Mr. Brantley,
Well,
or
I'd like to know what we're doing here.
Okay.
Are we closing out this project?
we are closing out this project, and it's a little confusing like the last one was. We put the money in up front, 3.2 million.
Right.
Then we borrowed the money to do it with.
Right.
We're basically taking that money from loan proceeds and putting it back in the general.
I'm like Wayne, before we clear it all out, I'd like to know if it's all been completed and everything's done that needs doing.
You want to do that before we vote?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Kind of everything I've heard from my end is good, but I just would like to hear
I'd like to know
overall
what kind of,
if we've got a,
Mr. Brantley, you or Scott want to update us on this? Okay. Good morning, sir. Good morning. You must have knew I was gonna get in trouble. I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here. I'm happy to say that we have had a good project. Things are going extremely well. We made our total cutover to the new system on December the 5th. In the process of that, we have a new tower at the hub site here in Nashville near the Dog Pound that will certainly be there much longer than any of us probably will be, so I'm happy to report that. We have a new paging equipment at that tower as well as 6 other sites that we have across the county. We made upgrades to 3 Viper towers owned by the state. We have put approximately 496 mobile and portable units out in the field working with statewide interoperability. We've worked out day-to-day operations with all of our contiguous counties that have not yet switched over to Viper. The coverage seems to be very good. Our weakest area, I guess I would call it, would be in the northeast part of Whitaker's, which we are continuing to look for some cost-effective fixes to that maybe. Our policy of using the new system is still a work in progress. The fire departments, the EMS folks, and especially our 911 folks have done a wonderful job of adapting to a major change. We have had one storm event Friday a couple of weeks ago that got us pretty busy. That was really the first time we've taxed the new system and had plenty of reserve we could have used had we needed it. Certainly hadn't been perfect. Don't want you to think that it has, but it's gone very well compared to some of the fears that I had. I'm happy to say thank you for supporting the project because it has gone very well.
Other questions for Mr. Rogers? Dan?
So you've got good coverage, and I know Spring Hope had some issues and
Yes.
around the Middlesex area.
Yes, sir. It
All right.
seems to be going
And
very
you
well.
talked about northern Whitakers. Are there going to be some recommendations on?
Yes, sir. We had a recommendation, and I'm hoping that maybe we have identified a little more cost-effective recommendation to do the same thing using some of our existing tower sites. But we are working on that.
Up in the
Actually, the chief.
Salem area?
Yes, sir. The chief, well, actually, Salem is really pretty good, just the way it sits. There's a tower in Brinkleyville that covers that area. Whitaker's, for whatever reason, is a little lower in elevation, but we are working, the chief
We're
of,
looking at any major expenditure beyond what we are closing out today?
not in comparison to what we have spent, no, sir. I mean, it would, probably would be some cost involved, but, and that's why I say we're certainly looking at a cheaper route.
Okay.
Did we actually wind up, did you actually wind up putting equipment on the water tank at Spring Hook?
There is paging equipment on that. There's not
Viper?
Viper equipment, no, sir. Mm-mm.
But it is working good in that
Yes, sir.
western,
Yes, sir. Seems to be doing fine.
I had a question also. I understand that fire and EMS was consolidated onto one channel.
For paging, that is correct.
For paging, okay. Do you foresee continuing that onto one channel, or with the volume of calls going up, needing to go to two channels?
I don't think we would have a need to go to two channels. That, because we use that simply to send out the paging tones, and then we move them to different channels after that's done. So I wouldn't think we would have a need to move back to two.
Okay.
Other questions? Scott, is there anything, talking about Whitakers, have we looked at the Edgecombe side of Whitakers, anything over there we could do, or in conjunction with Edgecombe County to help that situation?
We
Or
have.
Halifax?
Yeah, Halifax has not gone Viper as of yet.
Right.
They are very close, I think.
I understand they are.
And if they do, I believe that would be beneficial to us. So that's probably another reason that I hadn't made a hasty recommendation to you. But yes, we have looked at a tower site in Edgecombe. There's one in Nash that I believe would serve us better. But we've also, what I'm working on now is an opportunity to use a current tower we already have. Just get Viper to add some equipment.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. Thank you for the update.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Wood, we were down ready to take a vote, I think, correct?
Well, let me just, and I apologize for the way this was written, but basically, our project cost was around $3,136,000.
Right.
So that left about $64,000 in financing proceeds available to use for debt service. In addition to that, the reimbursement from the fire departments would be requested to use for debt service payments, which is $430,391.
Doesn't that come in over a period of time also?
It will, but what this does, it sets it up so we don't have to come back to the board to reappropriate that money.
All right. Some of those paid up front, some of them financed it with us, correct?
That is correct. They financed it over a period of 5 years.
5 years, like our financing is.
Right.
Gotcha, okay. Dan, any other questions?
No more.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield, second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Thank you, Donna, for those, and we'll move on to 19. You have 12 budget amendments we'll go through. And unless you got an issue, we can vote on all of these at the same time.
Okay. The first items with Parks and Rec Department, this budget amendment makes funds available that have already been collected in adult softball, indoor soccer, and flag football revenue for umpire and referee expenses. It's $9,754. No additional county dollars are required. Next item is with the Planning Department. The purpose of this amendment is to budget additional funds for wireless communication facility, the cell tower project reviews performed by the county's third-party telecommunications consultant. These are pass-through fees paid by the applicant at the time of the project submittal and invoiced by the consultant after the review has been completed. We're requesting $5,000 and no additional county funds. Next item is with Recreation and Senior Services Department. This budget amendment makes funds available that have already been collected for purchase mills, Project Lifesaver, and HCCBG cost share. It's $3,025. No additional county funds are required. The next items are with the Sheriff's Office. This budget amendment appropriates grant funds from the Foundation for Health Leadership and Innovation to address opioid misuse and prevention. It's $44,050. No county funds required. The next item is a budget amendment. The next item appropriates Nash County's portion of a joint grant application with the City of Rocky Mount. This is for the 2018 Justice Grant. We had a 2017 Justice Grant last month. The Sheriff's Office will use the proceeds for technology improvement items, including internal affairs software, to assist with tracking, documentation, and investigation of complaints of employees, and 2 portable metal detectors. The proceeds will also be used for embroidered polo shirts with the Sheriff's Office logo to identify members of the Sheriff's Office when not in uniform at community events, training, public events, etc. $17,128. No county funds are required. The next item is asset forfeiture funds. This budget amendment is to budget revenue received in fiscal year 18-19 to be used for law enforcement and investigative training, to maintain certifications and updates on trends in law enforcement, as well as funds for upfit of vehicles and canine tracking collars. It's requesting $45,600. No additional county funds are required. Next item is with controlled substance funds. The state asset forfeiture. This budget amendment is to budget additional funds for fiscal year 18-19 for law enforcement investigative training to maintain certifications and updates on law enforcement trends, requesting $20,000. No additional county funds are required. The next item is a fund balance item. In June 2018, the county commissioners, through an action of formal approval, committed general fund balance of $750,000 to the specific purpose in anticipation of construction of a new Northern Nash Elementary School. The following amendment is to transfer the committed fund balance to the capital project for Northern Nash Elementary School. It's $750,000. Next item is ABC bottle tax. This amendment is to budget funds to cover additional costs for ABC bottle tax fees for fiscal year 18-19, requesting $10,000. No additional county funds are required. The next item is with medical examiner. This amendment is to budget funds to cover additional costs for medical examiner fees for fiscal year 18-19. It's a fund balance appropriation request of $10,000. The next item is with court facilities. This amendment is to budget funds for security renovations to the magistrate's office. It's a fund balance appropriation request of $25,000. And the
General fund balance or courtroom fund balance?
I have it as general fund.
Okay. No contingency left in courtroom?
There are funds available, but I was under the understanding that it would be general fund, but I can adjust this one as well.
Whatever Mr. Lamb wants to do is fine.
We talked about this is really, this sprung out separately from the courthouse project, and I would like to make a comment about one other matter, if I could.
Let us get to all.
Yeah.
We did, you got some more.
I have one more.
Right.
And this final items with public education, Nash Rocky Mount School current expense. This amendment is to budget advanced funding for Nash Rocky Mount School budget overruns for fiscal year 18-19. That will be repaid to Nash County, $400,000 per year for 2 years. The first $400,000 in fiscal year 1920, with the remaining in fiscal year 2020, per approval by the Commissioners at the April 30th, 2019 Nash Rocky Mountain Nash Board of Commissioners Annual Budget Meeting. It's a fund balance appropriation request of $800,000.
Correct. Okay. Any questions on any of these 12 budget amendments? Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring your attention to the 750 that, for the new elementary school. And the reason I'm saying this is because we've seen with the Shell building, as well as with the courthouse, that we had some seed money put down. And what this 750,000 does, first of all, it told the public, the commissioners wanted to make clear to the public and to the school system that they were committed to this project. So last June, they appropriated this money. It gives us some seed money prior to receiving the $10 million from the state or borrowing $10 million. If the project still comes in under $20 million, then we'll be in the same situation with this 750 unless we reduce the $10 million. We decide to borrow $9 million, put in another 250 to equal the $10 million match, we can do this. But this is the same concept. It's seed money to deal with upfront costs. You've done a reimbursement resolution, so any funds that the county spends between now and the loan, receiving the loan and the grant, we can get reimbursed from those two funds.
What I expect we'll see is at the end, you'll utilize this for debt service on the 10 million.
It usually comes in handy, if
I
possible,
understand.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaws, is second. Second. Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on either of these 12 amendments? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Budget amendments stand approved, and they were in better shape than you were afraid they were last Wednesday. Moving on to item number 21 is a monthly tax report. No action required. Did I, back up.
You skipped one.
I see the wrong one moving. I did indeed. Item number 20 is budget appointments. Stacey, please proceed, ma'am.
Yes, sir. We've got several board appointments to make today. One is for the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA. Members Tara Nelson, Samantha Mislow, and Robert Johnson needed to be replaced. Tara and Samantha are collector members, and Mr. Johnson is a public member, and you all did have an application in your packet for Mark Cohn.
Correct. Update on that is we do have 2 collector members' seats that are open. With Susan's help, we identified a couple to take those. In one case, one of them's employer wished for them not to serve on the board, so I've got to find another one there. And then the other one took another job very recently and moved it to another location. So I still have those 2 collector members open. I will continue working on that. And you did have one public member open that came from the southern part of the county, which was a Robert Johnson. He relocated out of Nash County. And we do have one interest shown, and the paperwork is in your agenda, which is Mark Combs from the Spring Hope area, that we can certainly approve if the board wishes to do so this morning.
Make a motion, we approve Mark Cohn.
Okay, have a motion, there's a second to that motion.
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Mark, if you will jot down May the 14th and get with staff, there's a meeting, would be your first meeting to attend, May the 14th.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
how we stack up on diversity within the board? Tourism.
Tourism.
I can tell you. I guess we can look at, but it just can.
I think I can tell you, answer that question for you, because I try to keep it in my mind. We had 5 members that were minorities. With Ms. Nelson leaving, we are down to 4. One of the people that we thought was gonna come on board would have replaced that in a minority as well, but that person took another job somewhere else. So we will continue to find those 2 collectors, and I will certainly keep that in mind. And if you have someone that works at a hotel that would meet your criteria, I'd certainly like to hear from you on it. I just want to keep it dispersed among different hotel owners as much as we can. It seems to work better when we do that, not get them all from one entity.
Yeah.
So keep in touch with me on that.
Okay.
All right?
The next one is for the Consolidated Human Services Board. I got word this morning that Dr. Mark Abel is willing to serve another term, if you all will have him.
He did indeed text us this morning and let us know he was willing to serve, and I would highly recommend it, but it's the board's pleasure.
I'll make a motion, we accept Dr. Abel.
Okay, have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Next item.
The next one is for the Sharpsburg Planning Board. We received notice that the town of Sharpsburg will be making appointments to their planning board in July. Mr. Andy Davis represents Nash County on this board, and he is recommended, eligible, and willing to serve another term.
Entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Next item, which is the need board.
Correct. The last one is for the need board, and if you all will recall, you all appointed Commissioner Bellfield and myself to that board, as we have dug in and learned more about this organization and their bylaws. We actually need to name another commissioner as the appointed individual, who will then appoint me to serve in their place, so that our minutes reflect that we have 2 elected officials appointed to that board. But elected officials are allowed to appoint someone to represent them.
So does the second part need to be in public meeting as well?
The second part, I don't,
We can appoint a commissioner here this morning, and then do we need to in turn pass that?
right, and go ahead and get it in the minutes
Get it
that
in the minutes, okay.
you have asked me to represent you,
I'm
yes.
with you then. Everybody understand what we need to do to stay correct? Entertain any commissioner that's willing to serve on a very temporary basis for this, is there a volunteer to do that? Ms. Leggett, I appreciate that. Is there a motion to approve Ms. Leggett for this position?
So moved.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Ms. Leggett, would you like to make a recommendation at this time?
Yes, I would like to recommend that Stacy Schatzer serve in my absence on that seat.
Okay. Any questions on, is that the right wording? Okay. Is there that is in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you. And if I'm not incorrect, I think we now have a full board on the need board for the first time for Nash County in a
On
very
Nash
long time.
County, yes,
From
yes,
Nash
sir.
County. Yep, that is good. I appreciate your hard work on getting that taken care of, and other members in the audience as well. And Mr. Bellfield, I thank you for agreeing to serve on that.
We're making great progress.
Well, it sounds like what little bit I know, you're making a whole lot of progress. I certainly appreciate your willingness to serve on there. Anything else? Stacy, on appointments? Okay. We'll move to item number 21, which is a monthly tax report for information only. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. As you stated, this is the informational report for the tax collector's office. It does not require any approval, and it is recommended that you accept the report so that it be noted in the minutes.
Does that take action, or I just need to say we accept the report?
Yes.
Information, huh?
We accept the report on behalf of the board, and thank you.
Thank you.
My information says you have no refunds this month?
No
plus
refunds
approved.
this month.
All right, and you have a distinguished gentleman visiting with you.
We do. We have our former administrator with us this morning, and also we have Eddie McCoy, who's our real estate supervisor, with us this morning.
Okay. Two distinguished gentlemen. I'm not gonna tell them which one I was talking about the first time, Eddie. I've got about 4 minutes before I can, well, in that little bit of time, we can swear in the members, I think, and be okay, and then I'll, call the other board together. Anything else from you, Ms.
No,
Sumner,
sir.
this time?
No, sir.
All right. With that said, I'd like to call, our Honorable Judge Sumner to swear in the Board of Equalization and Review at this time, and welcome, Judge. Glad to have you as always.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the invitation. I cannot refuse you, ladies and gentlemen. Would you be so kind to stand for me, though?
We will. Have we got a Bible anywhere, or do we need a Bible?
Right. You got one too?
No, yeah, okay, thank you.
Left hands on the Bible, raise your right hands for me, please. Left on the Bible, raise your right hands. Do each of you solemnly swear that you will affirm that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a member of the Board of Equalization and Review of Nash County, North Carolina, and that you will not allow your actions as a member of the Board of Equalization and Review to be influenced by your personal or political friendships or obligations of you God.
I will.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
It is now officially 11 o'clock. At this time, I would like to call the meeting of the Board of Equalization and Review to order. And I will instruct the tax administrator, new tax administrator, to proceed.
Yes, at this time, we do call that, as you said, the board to order. We are here to hear any appeals for any property taxpayers that may have some property that want to appeal. At this time, we do not have any formal appeals with our office, so I guess at this time you would open the floor if there's anyone here that has a question.
I think I recognize everybody in the room, but county citizens are taxpayers as well as anyone, county employees are taxpayers as well. As anyone wishes to speak to the Board of Equalization and Review at this time, please come forward, state your name and your address. We'd be glad to hear from you. Seeing nobody coming forward, what's our next step, Ms. Sumner?
Okay, if no one is coming forward, then you will recess until the next month's meeting.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion at this time to recess the Equalization and Review Board until June the 3rd, 2019. Do we want to set a specific time on that as we did this morning? Do we have to be sworn back in again?
No.
No.
Okay. We'll just let that time be on the agenda and get proper notice out once the staff decides. Is there a motion to adjourn until June the 3rd?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richards, is there a second?
Mr. Chair,
Second by Mr. Combs. Is there any questions on the motion at this time? Mr.
do
Bell?
we adjourn or recess?
Yeah.
I said adjourn, and it actually says recess. Thank you for that correction. You're correct.
Okay, okay.
I would ask that the motion be changed to recess the Board of Equalization and Review until June the 3rd. Excuse me, recess. Did I get it right that time?
Yeah, change
Yeah.
the motion.
Okay, all right. Recess, we'll have a motion and we'll have a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, board.
At this time, I am moving to item number 24, which is commissioner comments. Any commissioner have a comment they'd like to make at this time? Seeing none, I'm sure the manager's going to cover it, but I just want to make sure we get a date agreed upon for a budget work session during your comments. You're going to cover that, I guess?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
I'll turn it over to you for item number 25, which is manager report.
Thank you. Just a reminder, this Wednesday, we will be going to Raleigh for the County Assembly Day. Registration starts at 8, and the program starts at 8:45. I believe, is everyone going? No?
Everybody going?
Are we planning to carpool?
Yeah, that's
and-
what I was trying to figure out.
I guess some are coming back early because I've got to get back early.
Okay.
I've got to go to Virginia.
I would say if we can leave by 7:30, we'll be good.
So everybody comes here at 7:30?
Yes, and we'll take probably two vehicles.
Anybody wish to plan to drive?
I mean, I can drive.
Will one of those vehicles be coming back?
I can be the designated comeback vehicle.
Well, I was gonna drive, but you just
I'm
took my
talking,
slot.
I know you're coming back, but I'm talking early.
I will be glad to come back early if Mr. Lamb.
I can drive, it
chooses
don't
not
matter.
to.
Early, everybody come back early.
Well, Dan, you're welcome to drive if you want to.
It don't matter.
All right. Anyway, we need to be here probably about 7:20 so we can leave at 7:30, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Um,
Mr. Belfield?
I have a doctor's appointment, so I hate to put anybody in a rush to come back, so it's probably best that I don't go.
That you do not go?
That do not go, right.
Okay, all right. Understood. Okay.
First one I missed since I've been a commissioner.
What time's your doctor's appointment?
Is that 2:30?
You'll be back.
Everything probably is gonna run up to about 1 o'clock, then
Probably.
before, yeah, and
A
I
little
just
later.
think that maybe
Okay,
I ought not to rush,
I got you.
put anybody in a rush to get me back.
Understand. All right.
On your agenda, we have recess in this meeting until May the 16th at 6 o'clock at Nash Community College for a joint meeting with the Board of Education regarding the new Northern Nash Elementary School. However, we do need to recess the meeting until sometime this week, the sooner the better, just to do some loose ends, finalize some loose ends on the budget that will be presented on May the 20th. So at the end of this meeting, we really need to recess until that date, and then on that date, we can recess until the 16th.
You want to do it, how long do you think it'll take? 2 hours at the most?
1 hour at the most, I would think. But we can plan on 2.
Okay.
Mr. County Manager, I have some minor surgery at 9:30 Thursday morning, so I cannot do it on Thursday.
How about tomorrow?
We have a meeting in the morning with our attorney.
Yeah, later though, in the afternoon maybe?
Is it in the afternoon? I got down at.
No, we have 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock.
We'll do 10. Better in the morning.
It's fine.
But we can,
Can we do 11?
We can be here by 11, sure.
excuse me, but,
Just three.
that's just 3 of us.
11, we'll be out by 1, right? Okay, that works.
Well, we can, We were gonna do that in Vince's office, but we can actually, that was something, another matter, but we can actually
Do it here.
do it here and do it before or after, either one.
Okay?
And if y'all like to come at 9 o'clock, we can do it when we get through, have our little meeting. It's just the manager, myself, and Vince. Whichever you suits y'all. 9 or 11, what's the pleasure?
When is that?
Tomorrow.
So you're not talking about the toll board?
No, the whole
We are
board.
talking about the total board.
The entire
yes, sir.
board.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Total board.
For tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, at what time?
Either 9 or 11, whatever the board prefers.
9 or 10.
9 or 10.
11's better, but
11.
I'm flexible.
11's better.
11's best, but we can change it out to 10 then, can we?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Everybody okay with 11 o'clock Tuesday?
tomorrow. Okay. Great, we'll recess this meeting until that time. At the next meeting, we will meet at 12:30 in the break room for reception with the 2019 Citizen Academy participants. And then they will graduate during the first part of the meeting, which will be held here in the large commissioners' room. County offices will be closed Monday, May 27th, in recognition of Memorial Day. And that's all I have.
You say that May 20th meeting will start at 12:30?
Well, there's a reception in the break room at 12:30, and the meeting should begin at
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.
Okay.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the meeting on the 16th, which is a joint meeting with the school board, is for us to receive that report from the company called ORED that's doing that study on the new Northern Nash Elementary School as it relates to attendance zones, and where concentrations of students currently live, and numerous other things that will be in that study. I think it'll be a very interesting study, and I'd like to say that I greatly appreciate the school board really pushing that company along to get it back that quick, because it's going to keep us on the schedule that this board asked for as it relates to the new Northern Nash and Northern Nash Elementary School. Stacey, I guess, are they arranging the community college for that night, or are we taking care of that?
We'll check.
Right.
I'm assuming that there may.
We'll check.
Okay, you just check
That was 6
that.
PM, right? 6
That is
PM.
at 6 p.m., yes, sir. Mr.
Okay.
Belfield?
I wanted to get, what date is that now?
That's on the 16th at 6 o'clock at Nash Community College of May. It's on a Thursday night.
Okay.
Any other items to bring before the board at this time by the commissioner or the manager? All right, I would entertain a motion to have a closed session. Closed session is for economic development, matters of attorney-client privilege, and personnel. And at the end of that meeting, we will recess until in the morning for the benefit of the public. I don't anticipate any action in closed session, but you're welcome to wait, or we'll be glad to contact you if we do take any action in closed session. Entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Have a motion by
Outlaw.
Commissioner Combs, a second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by a like sign.